We are back with the As Told by You podcast, and today we welcome Jonathan with Elite Lawn and Landscaping, and then also Professionals on the Patio. So thank you so much for being here. We're excited to get to know you and just dive right into all the things that are networking related.
Yeah, This is one of our series of guests, so we don't know Jonathan very well. So This is really exciting to have him on. And I met Jonathan at Professionals of the Patio, and we talked a little bit about getting Rebecca in to promote the walk a mile event into Professionals on the Patio. So that's kind of how we got to know Jonathan a little bit. But tell us a little bit about you and what is it that you do?
Awesome. Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys having me on. And like you said, yeah, nothing worse than faking questions when you know each other a little bit more, So it'll be very genuine. But yeah, so like you said, I'm with Elite Lawn and Landscape. So there I do primarily sales, some marketing. So really that's just kind of doing, some mediocre compared to what you have going on, but video content for like TikTok and stuff like that. Professionals on the Patio, I founded. It was kind of my brainchild, but I partnered up with David that owns Elite Lawn and Landscape for that. So that's kind of how that one kind of came to fruition, which we can get into that a little later, I'm sure. But a little more about me. I was born in Bogota, Colombia, so South America. Moved to Florida, kind of seems to be the route that goes from South America, right? Moved to Florida when I was 6. Then moved up here to Patio, of all places. How we landed there, not necessarily sure, for the rest of my years here. So, at 11 years old, I'm 34 now. So all my formative years here in Colombia area for the most part. And here I am now. So
yeah, that's awesome. Talk about Elite. So you say it was your brainchild. Talk about your relationship with David and what is that?
Yeah, so like? Well, Professional on the Patio was my brainchild for sure, but Elite Lawn and Landscape, they've actually been around since I guess now. We've been around for 5 years. So David, he started Elite Lawn and Landscape when he was a teenager. He was doing lawns like most of us do, and he got into I think he got into solar sales for a little while when he got a little bit older. And I believe that's kind of how he invested into getting Elite started on a more legitimate basis once he got, when he was 18. So once he graduated.
Wow.
So a young start on that. So 5 years strong. Our 5-year goal moving forward is to get 5 more kind of areas, locations. I know we're looking into some new markets now. Very inspirational to have someone that young that's creating a brand and a business.
So are you guys doing landscape design or is it just lawn services?
So pretty much anything that involves landscaping and hardscaping we do, right? So we're talking about retaining walls, paver patios, irrigation, French drains, sod installation, outdoor kitchens. Of course, we do yard maintenance as well, but really, looking to kind of grow that portfolio into some of those bigger projects, and they're fun for before and after pictures and videos. That's what I tell a lot of my clients. I'll do lawn services all day, but I really get excited about building and creating some new beautiful spaces. So.
Well, and Elite seems to be everywhere. I mean, you see the cars all over the place, and then the billboards all over the place.
Yeah, the branding is very unique and in your face, like the shoes. You have to put that up for the camera.
I don't know if
that's right.
Got to look at those. Yeah, and that's kind of David and Elite's whole thing. So all of our marketing, for the most part, a lot of people don't believe, but it's really in-house. It's all, primarily, David, because I just joined Elite back in March. So the marketing that I'm a part of is really just the TikTok stuff and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's really what Elite, is big on, is just creating a brand, an image, and be in as many places as possible. You know what I mean? As many, like you say, you see the logos and cars everywhere. That's by design. You know what I mean? The goal is just, kind of subconsciously, I think everybody's goal should be that, but that's something that we focus on. And David, it's incredible, especially like I tell him all the time with his age, he's 22 years old. When most people his age are up partying at that hour, middle of the night, I'm getting texts from him like, check out this new campaign I'm designing, or stuff like that. So he's very passionate, does a ton of research, and it seems to work. So
yeah, that's awesome. And I think it's landscaping is one of those careers or one of those businesses that like Gary Vaynerchuk will talk about. He'll say like, don't worry about whether or not you have an advanced degree.
Right.
You know, I mean, anybody can if you dedicate yourself to it, you have the idea, you have the passion and the drive. You know, you make something like that work. What do you feel like makes it work? What do you feel like makes Elite Landscaping work?
Big picture, you know, David likes to say jokingly, but pretty seriously, you know, like scared money doesn't make money. You know that saying. And so any of our extra money company wide goes back into marketing, you know, into local charities, marketing, and then just having a local presence, right? So sponsorships, things of that nature. And he's always thinking big picture. He's always thinking a few years ahead, you know what I mean? So it's all about growth with us. I mean, even in the 5 years that we've been around, you know, we've got up to, I think we're at like 8 crews now. We've done over 50 grand in charity donations, you know, looking into getting to new markets and stuff like that. So it's really just having that big picture stuff. And then just, you know, it's the branding. I think the branding is really what kind of sets us apart, you know.
What would you say your core values are for the company in terms of building that brand?
Yeah, so the core values, I know, so Elite, you know, very faith oriented.
Yep.
You know,
it's not shying away from that.
right. You know, so that's really what kind of keeps us grounded in everything we do. You know, especially since I've been part of Elite, I hear more from customers now. But even when I was outside of Elite, it's one of those things that, you know, I was guilty of it when I saw the logos and the branding. I'm like, oh, you're in the South. That's smart. You know what I mean? Good marketing, you know, like, but it's actually something that the company really lives out. You know, if you hop in David's truck or any of our vehicles, really, you know, 9 times out of 10, it's worship music playing. If you pop in for lunch, you know, saying grace before our meals collectively as a company and all that. So really putting God in the forefront, you know, it's not just a marketing ploy at all. You know, if anything, when the company first was coming up, a lot of people kind of warned David to kind of be careful with that. You might lose some customers. And
well, you certainly don't want it to be inauthentic.
Right. And so that's the thing. And he's like, well, if we lose business that way, then so be it. You know what I mean? We're just going to stick to our values. And so really that's the forefront of everything that we do. And, you know, just trying to maintain and build, you know, reputations, relationships. You know, you can't guarantee that there won't be issues. In any business, there's ups and downs, you know, human error and all that, but it's about how you can handle these things and how you can move forward. So that's really the forefront. And then just branding, creating a brand. I think, you know, if you were to sit down with David and ask him about his marketing kind of, you know, plan, is just creating that brand, you know, having the logo everywhere, having the colors everywhere, and just becoming a fixture in the community.
Well, from a landscaping perspective, especially locally, I can't tell you anybody else that I know of, that I've heard of, and it could be Professionals of the Patio kind of gets it out there a little bit more, you know, in other businesses' faces, you know, but like I feel like the branding seems to be working.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure. And we'd get a lot of, and I don't get it anymore because I think people didn't like my answer, but a lot of people would say, even before I was working for Elite, people would be like, oh, you're close with David, man, like people with marketing agencies and stuff like that. It's like, these billboards don't work, man. And I'm like, well, then why are we talking about it?
That's right.
You know, if they don't work, you wouldn't even be bringing them up. Yeah, it's an archaic type of advertising and marketing, but if you're able to, because it seems like we have dozens and dozens, right? It's safe to say we don't have dozens at one time, but it's strategically moving them around, having relationships with, you know, like Grace Outdoors, Lamar, stuff like that, where you're able to take advantage of digital billboards. Those are easy to turn them and change locations and stuff like that. So
well, and I'll say for once, y'all's billboards don't try to put too much information on it.
Yeah, and we've gotten a little bit of criticism about that. You know, people's like, man, I don't even think I saw a phone number on there or whatever. But it shows that the vision is just creating that brand, because everybody can Google anything.
No more than 7 words.
Right.
And my goodness, how many of those billboards you go through where there's like 2 or 3 columns of information.
I will say this though: marketing people look at billboards more than the average person.
Right.
That's true.
That's true. And look, I you know, I don't remember who said it, but they were like, you know, most people looking at their phones while they're driving along, which is like really dangerous. You know, and so they don't have time to read a whole lot of stuff that's on your billboard. And but I think what's interesting is that if you look at it as a mix, right? You don't hang all your hopes on a billboard. You don't hang all your hopes on a social media campaign. You don't hang all your hopes on a branded car.
Right.
You know, you have a mix. You have the idea that they're going to see you somewhere, and
Exactly.
it takes so many times for someone to come in contact with your brand before they call you. And so much of it is relationships, and I think that's a real smart way to look at it. My wife uses the landscaper that was my son's friend in high school, who's still doing it, who's no longer friends with my son, but we still use him for landscaping because we're on a draw. You know, he just charges us once a month and comes out and does the landscaping. I'm not sure she even realizes that they're still doing it. You know, it's like we're not even really planning on it. But it's that relationship she built with him when my son and him were in high school together. You know, and so I think that's really important. I was curious about kind of from Elite's standpoint. Where does it go? Where does it go from here? What challenges are you guys running across? You know, where are you running into limits from a company?
Yeah, so I think one of the interesting, I wouldn't say so much of a challenge, but I'm the oldest guy around there, right? It's a lot of young guys, you know what I mean? My direct sales manager, he's 22, 23, whatever, right? So the fact that Elite's been able to fine-tune as much as we have with such a young staff to begin with is pretty incredible. But that gives me a lot of hope for the future of growth, maturity, and with it only getting better, you know, which is incredible. But the more of the superficial challenges that come up is just like anybody else, staffing, getting good guys out there to work, getting dependable people that can show up and with our crews that are actually out there doing the work on these properties, finding people that align with our values. I mean, of course, you know, we're not, obviously our faith is something huge, but regardless of what anybody's lifestyle, you know, for the most part, you know, what your lifestyle is when you get home, whenever you're wearing that Elite shirt and you're out there mowing lawns or dealing with customers, like you know, we want people to behave a certain way and represent a brand a certain way, and not much different than any other company would want their folks to behave, right? You respect people, you know, just kind of basic things. But you know, those are challenges. Just staffing, you know, you hear it all the time. It's hard to find good people, and it's true. You know, I joke all the time, like, you know, most people that are good candidates for whatever job probably already have a job, right? So like it's finding staffing in that. But then just growing, because, you know, David's really passionate about expanding the brand, right? So we want to have the same presence, you know, eventually throughout the country as we do here in Colombia, right?
Sure.
You know, so it's being aggressive and taking those risks, you know, of trying to get into new markets, trying to grow, trying to take on work, but find a balance as well. You know, when I first came on, part of why I got hired on to help with sales is all this marketing's been fantastic, the branding's fantastic, but we need more people out there responding to the customers, right? Because if the phone's constantly ringing, which is a blessing, you know, you want to be able to service that in a reasonable amount of time too. You know, when you have such a big brand locally like that, it's easy for folks to think or say or wonder like, oh, are they too big? You know, I'll get that a lot. I went to someone's house like, man, your shoes match your car. I think y'all might be too expensive for me. You know, like that guy, you know, he told me that this morning. But it's so it's kind of balancing that growth and that, you know, the appearance that we have, you know, of being kind of on the forefront, you know, in our industry, but balancing that out with truly being humble, truly caring about, you know, customers and relationships, and not trying to, you know, just turn them and burn them. You know what I mean? Trying to actually continue to grow on a scale, but keep those values in place. You know, because it can be tough to do that. You know, just out of sheer volume. You know.
Well, what from a marketing perspective, what do you feel like? So you talk about TikTok. So obviously, TikTok is in marketing circles. TikTok is attributable to age. So a lot of people say if you're trying to reach people in their 20s or something, you're on TikTok. I don't know that you are. You're not trying to reach people in their 20s exactly, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to reach homeowners of any age, right?
Absolutely.
So talk about the move towards doing TikToks and how has that been effective for you?
So I personally didn't expect or see there to be such a an impact on doing like the TikToks and the reels on Facebook and stuff like that. But just frankly speaking, so many businesses are moving into those spaces, and you know, even though it's a younger demographic typically, like I know a ton of old dudes that will sit there and scroll on TikTok. They're just, whether they want to admit it or not.
Like
you know
this
what I
old
mean?
dude
Yeah,
right here.
yeah. And then there's also the which I think people are starting to catch on to now, because TikTok has a certain reputation of like what kind of content is on there, but anybody that uses the app knows it gets pretty tailored to your interests pretty quickly, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're into, let's say, remodeling cars, in no time you're going to get nothing but really good content related to that. But really it's just more of a push, not necessarily like a demographic push, but just, again, having the brand everywhere, right? Same thing with the Facebook Reels and stuff like that. And that David had told me one week, because I was just, you know, we were busy doing a lot of sales, so I wasn't spending much time doing the videos. And he's like, man, you know, we get more calls when you're putting these videos out, believe it or not. You know, so it's just getting in front of people, and that's really just, I think that's really the forefront of the thinking when it comes to our marketing. It's just getting in front of people as much as possible.
How would you describe the content on your TikTok?
So a lot of it is just kind of like little montagey. So you know what I mean? So what I like to do with our stuff, especially with our faith and all that, is finding good, there's so much good like Christian music nowadays, right? That just sounds hip, sounds fun, you know, whatever. So kind of keeping the brand alive, using that subtly. But a lot of it's just montage kind of stuff, you know, like, you know, different types of B-roll music, maybe some, you know, proprietary information about, like, you know, we do this, these are our services, you know, things of that nature. And then, you know, some of the things we're wanting to lean into more is just like those what do they call it? Like oddly satisfying videos, right? Of like someone trimming shaping a bush or something.
One of my favorite things on TikTok is there's a guy that goes around and finds overgrown yards, and he will take care of it in high speed.
There's a bunch of them that do that.
Yes. There's one particular guy I guess I'm following. I don't know really.
Yeah, there's one that comes to mind that I think
you don't even really follow people anymore, but it just keeps coming up, and you know, people will tell him no, which is bizarre. You know, but like. But he, you know, he will rehab a yard, and it's
incredible.
I watched one this morning.
Yeah, it's fun, man. It's fun. Yeah.
It's also fun to see them when the neighbors get upset with them.
Oh no,
it's happened so much.
Yeah, or the city,
or the city will come up and say like, you don't have the right to do this or something to that.
Yeah, because you can't clean the curb next to the street because that's the city. Right. You go, well, nobody did it, and they're like, well, you can't do it because it's not. I mean, you want
because they want a contract. You know,
yeah. God, it's so wild. And what happens is you see the three of us are invested in what this guy's doing, right? I mean, you know, because it is satisfying to watch. You know. My son has a car detailing business, and he has one video on TikTok that has over 1 million views, and it's legit. It's just him cleaning a carpet. It's a dirty carpet. He does the wash on it, and it gets clean, and that's it. That's the whole thing. It's 25 seconds. Just he doesn't say anything. There's no branding on it. It's just cleaning a carpet, and it's got over 1 million views. You know?
Yeah, and so that's some of the stuff we're looking into. Getting more into creating content like that. I know we just purchased a decent little drone to get some good video footage with that.
Have you mowed a cross into someone's yard?
Not that I'm aware of yet. Not that I'm aware of yet. But that actually would be cool. At the very least,
the drone.
Yes.
I want my backyard with the cross and then the
because you got to have the rays, coming off of it. Yeah. Oh my God, that would
and
be so
striped
good.
it out. Oh.
Yeah,
that would be so
that's
good.
That's a good idea. Noted. You know, that's why you guys are a marketing agency.
But it's always it's the ideas. It's the ideas that matter, right?
That's it.
It's not the drone. It's the ideas.
That's right.
We have the drone too. If you
well, whatever. Yeah, but I mean, you know, it's it's funny those little things like that. You could be doing it on the ground, and then nobody sees what you're doing until you take the drone up, and then you see
it up. The big reveal.
There's a good metaphor in there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, you can show that. So let's talk about Professionals on the Patio a little bit. I had been seeing this for, I don't know, several months before I went, and I was just never available at the time or whatever it was. You know, once a month. Was it the first Thursday?
Yeah, first Thursday.
First Thursday of the month. And I went to this thing, and I've been doing networking. I've been doing business in Colombia for 20 years, so I've been doing networking for a while, and you tend to see the same exact customers at every networking event, right? And so I walked into Professionals on the Patio, And number one, it was jam packed. So I mean, they were shoulder to shoulder in this place, and I knew nobody. Mm-hmm. Like I knew Daniel Andrews.
He was there
because he's at every networking event. But like Daniel Andrews is kind of like the boy, I'm gonna date myself. On MySpace, everybody got the one friend, Tom.
Yeah,
Tom.
Yeah, and so that's what Daniel Andrews is in Colombia. Daniel, I'm shouting out. He won't watch this, but anyway, so I knew Daniel, but I didn't know anybody else, and I'm like, how is it that I have this big of a room of people that do business in Colombia, and I don't know anybody? That I was like, okay, this is fascinating. I got to come to every one of these because
So for someone who's never been,
yeah.
you said it was your brainchild. So when did it start? How did you come up with this idea?
So the very first one was, I believe, March of 24. So at the end of 2023, I got into, your typical local networking groups, BNIs, things like that. And I never realized, and I was in a totally different industry at the time. I was doing home security sales, right? So I was, I quickly came to realize that I've always been a networker, but I never put the title on it, right? Like my whole life, I've always been like, you need this. I know a guy that does this. Y'all both deserve to do business together because I can trust him. I can trust you, and that's always kind of been my thing, connecting good people. So once I got into real networking organizations and things, I'm like, oh, this is a thing, and then I started going to other networking events around town. At the time they had Coffee on the Rooftop, which was at the Black Rooster, for example. On the third Thursdays of the month, you have Coffee Talk on at Stars and Strikes with the Irmo Chamber.
Yeah.
You have Not First Fridays at WECO, so all these events that I was going to. And in my past life, I used to have a craft beer blog. So I did a bunch of stuff with local breweries, hosted beer festivals, events, all for charity, but it was, hosting events and parties and stuff like that. So, my initial thought was I can throw the best networking event / party and be the coolest thing Colombia's ever seen, at least in the sphere of networking. And that's kind of how it initially started. And it's hosted at the Expansive Building downtown, which is a co-working space. And they have an event venue space as well, the Patio, hence the name. And I met with David from Elite, and I had an office there at the time. And he came in, and he's like, man, this place is cool, So he ended up wanting to get an office suite there, and he wanted to introduce himself to the building. And he's like, I was wanting to host an event, kind of introduce myself to everybody. And I was like, well, I'm actually working on doing this event. You want to get the food for it? And then maybe we can work together. And so we did our first one, and it was a huge success, to be honest. The very first event, I think we had 120 people.
How'd you promote it?
We just did little, short videos online. So videos of he and I walking, just saying, hey, come on out, we're inviting you to this. I would print up, and I need to get back to doing it just because I was kind of slacking off it, but just printing off like little pocket-sized flyers, taking them to all these other networking events and inviting people. So it was really just mainly word of mouth. We did some billboard stuff, here and there, but it was all just word of mouth. You know what I mean? The biggest draw, which has transformed now, but initially the biggest draw was it was completely free. Right, so it's free to attend. You get 2 drink tickets. We had a bar service. We normally had a great food partner. We had Backstreets a couple months. Nacho Margarita kind of became a fixture toward more recent times now. But good food, drinks for free, and then networking. Right, so it's
a great space. And when the weather's good, I mean, it's
beautiful.
Now I've been there a couple of times where the weather was very much not good, but it was okay anyway.
So the patio's not covered?
Patio's not covered, but
we do have an indoor space that we can use.
Huge indoor space, and then there's a huge outdoor
shade?
space.
It's 100 degrees.
Yeah, depending on the time of the evening. Yeah, so there's 2 sides of the patio. So depending on weather, when it's really cold out, we'll use the side on the corner. It's kind of tucked away so the wind isn't blowing through, freezing everybody. We bought a couple space heaters for that area, like the little umbrella heaters. And then the same thing with the main part. If it's not too terribly hot, we'll use the main area, but if it's too hot, we'll use the side kind of, side part of the patio. But it's right there across, catty-cornered from Market on Main and directly across from Cantina 76, right?
So and the patio actually overlooks Main Street, so you feel like you're right dead in the middle of the city, So
it's a unique view for something in Colombia.
Yeah.
That's why I fell in love with it and wanted to host my event there, because I'm like, this is I feel like I'm in Charlotte or something, right?
Yeah, it does.
So that's why I went to the folks at Expansive and was like, hey, I've been in Colombia for 20 years, never heard of you guys.
Yeah.
You know, never heard of this space at all. Let me throw an event where I bring the exact people y'all need to come here, business owners, and host an event here for networking. And you know, if that's something they'd be interested in. And of course, they were like, absolutely. So that's how we started that relationship with those guys.
Is it still free?
No, so it has transformed because, like he said, it got to the point where it's like elbow to elbow in there, right? Like even on the patio, which is pretty large, it was to the point like we were, you know, at the very least 120, 130 people every month, right? We topped out at like 250 some months. And all that's great and all, but I started realizing from through the grapevine, just from my own, you know, observations and things from the food vendors and all that, that even though we were careful not to advertise free food, free drinks, because then everybody in the city is going to want to come, right? Word gets out, right? So we started seeing folks roll up that's like, okay, I think that's just a couple college kids. Like, I don't even think they're in any kind of business, right?
Right.
And then, like, our food vendors would kind of let us know, like, hey, man, you're having a lot of people that are, like, coming back and getting a ton of food, and when we kind of say something to them, they're like, well, it's free. What's the big deal? You know, so people with the wrong intentions started really filling up the space. And at first, I kind of turned a blind eye to it a little bit because I enjoyed having the big crowd. It made great for really getting people there. But then I started, you know, getting little conversations with people that I cared for and respected that were like, hey, man, you know, it's just kind of not really my scene. So I kind of stopped coming, you know, and that kind of started bugging me. And then this year, like I grew up in the church and stuff like that, but this year, you know, coincidentally, or maybe not so coincidentally, right before I got the job with Elite and stuff, I just really started diving into my faith and really, you know, kind of just cleaning up my life a bit. Granted, when I started professionally on Patio, I wasn't as wild as I once was, but, you know, me 4 years ago would have loved to have the craziest patio party every month and would have been more than happy to, like, whatever, like, let's do keg stands out here, you know what I mean, just have ragers. But growing in my faith this year and stuff, it just started not sitting well with me that, like, it started getting slowly loosely associated with, like, it's a party, people are getting wasted, let's go catch a buzz there and go hit, you know, which that was the idea. Like, come here, enjoy networking, then do First Thursdays. Go down to these other places. That's why I chose First Thursday, right? But it got to the point where it just wasn't sitting well with me that it was gaining some of that reputation, right? And people that I respected and cared about were even saying, hey, it's not for me anymore. And so
accomplishing the original mission, which is
bringing business
networking.
owners together.
Yeah.
Now we just have a bunch of random people showing up that just want to eat and dip out. You know, it got to the point where, like, every time my guest speaker would speak, her name is Bency Beal. She speaks almost at every event.
She's been on our podcast.
Awesome. Yeah, love Bency to death.
Yeah.
And you know, I kept having to shush people, and it really started getting under my skin because I'm like, she's a wonderful person. She has a lot of great things to say. People should feel lucky that she's speaking for them. You
Absolutely.
know, and you know, things like that were just bugging me. So I was trying to think of a way to fix it without destroying the event, because it crossed my mind to just, you know what, this isn't even worth it, you know, because I don't get anything out of it. We have sponsors that pay, which we don't even charge as much as we probably should to offset the cost, but we have sponsors that pay to be on the flyers and stuff like that. But I get, if anything, I lose money and have to dig into my own pocket to make it a success, right? It's like throwing a wedding every month. You know, you're feeding 100 people. It's expensive. And so it got to the point I'm like, man, I might just be done with it. But I knew as soon as, and just being the networker I am, you know, I have ears everywhere. I already heard rumblings of people, like, trying to get with Expansive about, like, hey, you know, we can overtake this and make this even bigger than you know, like, people trying to undermine it, right? Because that's just how people are, which is fine. So I was like, no, if I abandon it, someone's going to take all the hard work I did, lay it up,
Right.
and then now they have the thing, right?
Right.
And so I was like, well, let me find a way to make it where it sits good with my soul and has a good impact. So we already worked with nonprofits anyways for a lot of our events. And I was like, let me just make it a forefront, like, we're going to partner with a nonprofit every month. So, like, 2 or 3 months ago, I kind of snuck it up on everybody. And I was like, this month there's an Eventbrite link, do a donation as little as $1. Right? And I didn't even put where the donation was going. Because frankly, at first, I was still trying to mull over how I was going to do it. Because I was like, honestly, we could use the money. Because so many of our supporters like, dude, just charge $5 or $10. All these people would totally pay $5 for a couple drinks and good food. Like, no worries, right? So I was like, that could be a good way to raise money for the event. Well, we announced, the Eventbrite, $1 donation. The backlash was insane.
Mm-hmm.
I had sponsors reaching out, concerned. I had people like, you know, it blew my mind how it was so negatively like received. So I was like, okay, well, let's do the charity thing. So I partnered with Nancy K. Perry for the first month that we did this. And, you know, so we let everybody know in social media prior to, and then people that came like, hey, this donation's going 100% straight to this children's shelter, right? So it's not even going to me, you know, even though I felt like we could deserve a little bit of it because we've been doing it for free for a year anyways. And so it's about a year in that we've done this change. And so I was like, let's just do the donation, go straight to them. And that event, like I said, it kind of snuck up on people, right? Because not everybody's on Facebook that comes to it and stuff like that. And that's our primary mode of communicating with the masses is Facebook. And it was to the point where security was telling us, and I saw it with my own eyes, people scrounging up like 4 quarters. And it was like, here you go. You know, people like sighing, like, oh, what? You know, frustration that people were expressing. We had a couple people, for y'all's sake, I'm not going to name you, but I know who you are. A couple of people that were just sneaking by security, and security's like, hey, do we need to? I'm like, no, that's fine. Let them in. Like that, you know, they won't be back, and they haven't been back. Mm-hmm. And just such a kickback, you know, and people just having frustrations, and it really frustrated me, you know, and because I'm like, how dare folks be this way, you know? So that month we had 130 people attend, and we raised, I forgot how much money for the nonprofit, a few $100, right? $450, $500, something like that. And the next month, now that everybody was hip to what's going on, we had 35 people show up.
Wow.
35. So it went from 130 down to 35 just because of that. And a lot of people's like, oh, it's the summertime. Mm-mm. Last summer, our July event, which is our July event where we had the 35, we had 250 people out there.
Right.
So it has nothing to do with the summer. You know what I mean? It's not. It has a lot to do with it's not the party, the free party that everybody wants it to be, right? But I wasn't having to shush people when Bensi was talking.
No.
You know what I mean? We raised more money with the 35 than we did with the 130.
Yeah.
So to me, that was kind of God's way of being like, you're on the right path doing this. Like you made a
Well,
good decision.
I came to that one. That's where you and I connected about being on the podcast, and I got Fox as a guest. So Fox and I were able to talk about it because I hadn't seen him in a long time. I talked to Bensi about reconnecting with her because I wanted to reconnect with her and help her get some of her content out. And I mean, I had better conversations at that one.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was actually the June that we had 35. The July one, I think we had a little bit more, but same thing, smaller crowd.
Yeah,
but higher quality.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting move. That is a brave move.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because part of our draw was, like you said, the size. It was impressive.
Yeah.
All right, so what time does it start?
So first Thursday of every month, with the exception of a few times we'll have to shift it due to holidays, but it's 5 p.m. So I learned you want to catch people as soon as they leave work. If you give people enough time to go home, they're not coming out, right? So if we did it at 6 p.m., which is what we initially wanted to do, it's not going to work, man. You're going to go home, sit with your dogs, your kids, you're not going to make it back out. So we start at 5. We were going into almost 9 p.m., but part of me trying to rein the party part of it in, we started kicking it back slowly, and now it's 5 to 7:30. You know, because it got to the point where at the end of the night, which I enjoyed it. I'm like, cool, we're sitting out, we have a couple more drinks, watch the guy, because we have a live music and stuff. Loved it, but, you know, frankly speaking, too, like, there's just a lot of liability involved with people just you know, I'm like, this is not worth it. Like, I'm going to end up in prison or have all these issues. Excuse me.
Well, 2 drink tickets doesn't take you till 9 o'clock. So that's
exactly
the other thing.
And that's the thing that I started realizing there was a lot of leniency with things.
Right.
And so you know, I made a long-winded Facebook post after that 130 event. I made a long-winded Facebook post, and I kind of drew the line in the sand. I said, listen, this is our new direction that we're taking. You know, if your impression was different, let me straighten it out. You know, we're not, you know, we're getting stricter. We're not here to you know, encourage any kind of excess or anything like that. We're here for business networking. You know, I want it to be laid back. You know, have a drink and enjoy it. You know, we're adults, that's fine. But when I felt it was starting to go away from that, it just wasn't good. And like I said, I had people, like, we have a few other events that we host under the Professionals on the Patio umbrella. We have the Breakfast Club, which is the 3rd Thursday of every month in the morning. And then we have Professionals at the Ballpark at Segra Park. So, you know, we have these events, and people would come to those and say, yeah, we could go into the evening one because it's just too wild. And I'm like, what? Like, no, hold up. So I have people that are getting 8 hot dogs coming to my event, but the people that should be here are, like, not wanting to. I need to change. You know what I mean? And instead of being upset with the attendees per se. I had to, like anything else, reflect and see what I'm doing, or what are we doing as an organization that's attracting what we're attracting.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say, I've been to a lot of networking stuff over the years, and 1 Million Cups is one that I still enjoy going to. I always have a good experience at 1 Million Cups. That's changed 8 times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I presented in 2016. So I'll tell you how long I've been going to 1 Million Cups. I presented in 2016, but they've moved locations, they've changed formats, they've had different people in charge. I think the spirit of it stays the same, right? And so the spirit of it keeps, like it is the one networking event. The one thing I don't love about BNI is I don't like walking into a networking event with my business card out and somebody else's business card out. I just don't think that that's the best way to do it. And if I'm obligated to give you, no offense to BNI, y'all have it, but if I'm obligated to give you leads, I just don't think they're as genuine as if I make a real connection with people.
Mm-hmm. And that's part of what we were going for too.
Right.
Is just like you hear it all the time in networking. It's kind of cheesy, like making meaningful, genuine connections. But that's really what we wanted to do.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting. I got to meet DJ Stingray. Mm-hmm. I got to meet Bency. I got to meet Fox. I got to meet you. Mm-hmm. And I think I am not of I'm not of y'all's generation, right?
Right, sure.
So we wouldn't naturally have something to talk about if we weren't in a space like that. And I think it's a very good environment for that. Give us some networking tips. So as somebody that started a networking event, what's a tip for going to a networking event and getting something out of it?
Yeah, I think first and foremost is just moving past any reservations that you have, any concerns or nervousness or awkwardness. You know what I mean? I have a lot of people that come to our events that'll be like, man, this is my first networking event ever. I wasn't sure what to expect or what to talk about or what to do or whatever. And, it's always good to bring someone with you. I think that helps out, just kind of having somebody to, a wingman. You know what I mean? Think of networking as like dating. Right, you want to have confidence. You want to be comfortable. You don't want to force anything. It's about just having genuine conversations with people, finding ways to introduce yourself. It's really just about being comfortable. Honestly, I think that's one of the biggest things. And I think Daniel Andrews, if he were to watch this, he would be like taking notes and sending me a long-winded text about, networking is, these are the tips.
I'm going to send this to Daniel.
Because that's the guy to talk to about the wholehearted tips. But it's really, I think it's just about finding, and I think, as cliche as it sounds, it's just finding a way to how you can help others. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think that means a lot, because it's easy to say, I have a landscaping company. Do you know someone that needs their grass cut? It's easy to say that, but how gimme is that? You know what I mean? That's not, it's just not the way the world works. I mean, it can, but no, I think you need to go in with, to piggyback off of one of the things BNI says. But like giver's gain is a real thing. Like you want to go and have a heart of a giver, right? Find ways that you can connect with people or connect people with other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I think that just becomes a reciprocal kind of relationship where people was like, man, that guy introduced me to Fox, and that was great. So now, next time I need something that guy does, I'll give him a shout, or something to that effect. And then just make friends, because it is easier when you walk in and know some people. You know what I mean? It is good. It's human nature to kind of click up a little bit, right?
Well, and my tendency in networking events is to find the people I know and go talk to the people I know. Mm-hmm. Which is not what a networking event is for.
Right.
It's for meeting people you don't know. Right?
Exactly.
So
you have to be willing to make those introductions, to folks you don't know, for sure. But
that's where the alcohol comes in. It's the liquid courage.
Exactly. Right.
It lessens that just a little bit. Exactly. You don't want to go too far with that, because then you become the life of the party, and you don't want to be the life of the party at a networking.
And you don't
event.
remember, what kind of connections you even made. But no, that's the thing is not being shy. But one thing I've learned too. A lot of times, I don't feel like going to some of these networking events I go to, including my own. Probably more often my own than any other, because it's such a job, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of times, just showing up, man. Even if it's like anything else in life. It's so cliche, but just showing up. Even if you're not feeling it, even if you're like, man, I don't want to go and talk to anybody. Don't. Just show up and hang out, man. I can't tell you how many times I've went to, Coffee on the Rooftop when it was still around, or the Stars and Strikes, or any of these other events that I've mentioned, events that you've mentioned, that I've shown up and just been a bump on a log, man. Mm-hmm. Where I've even internally beat myself up, like, dude, you're not talking to anybody. But someone will walk up and see your shirt or remember you and be like, oh, I've been meaning to connect with you. So just showing up, even if you don't feel that outgoing that day, just show up, hang out, and you'll be surprised how many people will come up to you. And next thing you know, whatever funk you might have been in, you kind of get out of it. Nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I had figured out to do over the years, and I take this a little too far sometimes, but I will do a third topic. So I'm not talking about me. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about something else. Mm-hmm. So that third topic is either the music that's playing, the food, at Professionals of the Patio, one of the ones I remarked that the First Citizens Bank building looks like something out of Gotham City. Mm. It doesn't fit with the rest of Colombia. It looks like something that was made for a comic book.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking, like, how do you start a bank? And then when you start a bank, do you decide that you want this Gotham City building? So that's the kind of third topic conversation. It's easier to talk to people when I'm not on the spot and you're not on the spot. Mm-hmm. And so we're just talking about something else.
Yeah, and it just builds like a more natural relationship.
I do have to get into actually introducing myself at some point, but that's the hard part, Mm-hmm. If they go, who is that weird dude talking about Gotham City? That was super weird, but
it's like, I think that was Batman.
Exactly. That's what Bruce Wayne looks like at a party.
Exactly.
He doesn't want to talk about being Batman, So that's that is a good way to do it. Talk about networking as a function of business development. So like for Elite, and that kind of thing. Talk about how important networking is for that mix of things to help build your brand.
Yeah. So again, it's just I'm beating it like a dead horse, but it's really just having the brand out there, getting in front of people seeing you constantly. I've been invited to various chambers, for example, chamber groups and meetings and stuff where folks will tell me, hey, we don't have a landscaping company or any, insert any industry. We don't have, but, with us, we don't have a landscaping company that shows up constantly, and then they'll express their experience by saying, like, our industry, our company, we're so consistent that it kind of shies other people away. Not that we want to shy anybody away from anything, but if you're consistently showing up and doing networking and going to these events and things like that, you kind of become a fixture in these communities. Like you said, you see some of the same people. So you become the go-to for those things, right? So I think that helps out a ton. And then just really, if you're in any forms of sales, I think going to networking groups and meetings is just great training to just dealing with people, right? Just dealing with different people, introducing yourself to people, learning people, finding a way to be selfless and find ways to connect with people, like you said, that third topic conversation. I think it's huge in that aspect, but just even on a more black and white, basis is, you're going to run into people that need your services. You're going to run into those connections, those guys that, like, let's say, we'll use landscaping, of course, as an example. Let's say I go to a networking event and I run into a guy that's creating this new development, right? Or whatever. And if you're the only person there from the industry they need, they're going to talk to you more than likely, even if it's just a conversation.
You'll get the shot.
Right, you'll get a shot. So I think that's something that's huge. That's something that Elite focuses on, actually. We're growing right now. It's just 2 of us doing sales, but we're currently, I think, looking to hire 2 more sales guys. And that's something that we're building into expectations for the sales guys. And also the company allowing time for that is go to a couple, I think it's 2 a week or something, whatever, but go to X amount of networking events a week. Make X amount of Facebook posts or whatever social media posts a week, just to become a fixture in the community, I think. You know what I mean? And then just working out those kinks of communicating with people, different types of people, different backgrounds, different industries. It's just going through those motions and getting those reps in and, just opportunity.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now, I wonder what his calendar, like, I'm a big calendar guy. What does your calendar look like? Like, how many different events or things do you have already outlined? And
it's very full for sure. It's peppered. You see it like this week is peppered with a bunch of little networking events and things like that, and it's good to put those in as recurring things on your calendar. You know what I mean? Because it's easy to book things over that. But that's something I've learned too is having the intentionality behind it. And like I said earlier, even if you're not in the mood and if you're not feeling it, just keep going, man. Just keep going.
That's what they call exposure therapy.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
It's funny with the guy we were talking to this morning. He does mental health therapy and different things for people. And one of the things he was talking about is exposure therapy. Something that you don't like, you need to push into it a little bit to get comfortable with it, which I think is relates to networking a lot.
Yeah,
man.
All right, so the professionals is kind of like almost like a brand of it, right? You have 3 different groups. Is that what I hear?
Yeah. So that's the brand, and we're actually looking to get some cool. Like we even toyed with getting making a little makeshift even like clothing line that's just professionals.
So I'm a professional.
Yeah, and exactly, and like one of our
what?
Right, yeah. Exactly. Great open, ended kind of like question starter, icebreaker. But yeah, so it's becoming a brand, and part of my vision of it, it's ever changing, right? It's not something I expected to be turn into having such a focus in my life, and I try to kind of keep things balanced. But initially, I toyed with making it an official nonprofit organization, right? Because everything I do is not for profit. Like literally nothing through Professionals on the Patio puts anything in my pocket. Really doesn't. But there's so many things that you have to do to keep that status. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The hoops you have to jump through, and I don't have the. Like I need to work still, you know what I mean? Like
course.
so,
Yeah.
I'm just rolling the dice with keeping up with my books really well, and just every time I've done taxes, like I'm sure I end up paying the government for hosting, so I'm really just losing out. But it's something that that transformation into going towards a nonprofit makes me sleep better at night about it, right? So like even if I am like getting some tax liability from it, because we are collecting money from sponsors, and even though I spend every one of those dollars on food for the event, tax people watching, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think it's just a 1-for-1 exchange, like all that's deductible or whatever.
Good news is I have no idea, but we have a good accountant, so I don't have to worry about it.
Right. So that, and I need to work on, if anybody's watching that would like to be a sponsor that's an accountant, please, we can exchange services. Keep me out of prison. No, yeah, so that was, I toyed with doing that, and I just realized it just wasn't very feasible with so I'm like, I'm just going to keep it, it's just keep it the way it is, but lean into doing the nonprofit stuff. And that actually helps as well, because initially I was collecting money, then giving it to the nonprofits. And I was thinking, like, hold up, like instead of making an Eventbrite link and collecting a minimal as $1, I'm just going to put the link for their donation page. Just donate straight to those guys. Keep me out of it, right?
So then you have to prove that you've donated in order to enter?
Yeah.
So here's my receipt?
Yeah. So it could be as simple as like their email receipt, and again, we're trusting people to not just like screenshot and send each other, whatever. But I have some faith in humanity. So, either that, or I think last month with the Hive Community Center, I think they actually had a printout of people that donated. So like kind of like a list, so we have.
In case you're wondering, I did donate when I went.
Well, I'm assuming.
I mean, but
unless you were the one that was trying to sneak by.
I was.
Yeah,
I'm not so good at.
Didn't want to call you out on your own podcast.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying, just getting it out there. I did donate, so but it wasn't. All
right,
it wasn't hard to do. So
I'm sorry for asking so many like basic questions. I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So I can go. It's like it's first Thursday,
right?
And I go and I get there and I say, oh, what's the charity, or do I have to do it ahead of time?
Yeah, so you can do it ahead of time. So primarily, like I was saying earlier, Facebook is really our main mode of getting stuff out there. So a lot of times we'll have those links posted so people can go ahead and do it ahead of time, which we encourage because it helps with head counts, but people don't do it. And, I mean, they will to some degree, but most of the time people will just show up. We have security at our events. So they'll normally check in, IDs and stuff like that for your drink tickets anyways. Last month we had the Hive, they actually set up a table right at the entrance, right? So as soon as you walk up, you see the nonprofit, and that's probably what we'll keep doing moving forward. So you see who it is, you'll talk to a representative there, and they'll say, hey, here's a QR code to scan. Right?
Okay, then I scan my QR code, I pay my $5 donation.
Yep.
And then I can come in and I have 2 drink tickets.
Yep.
And I can eat.
Yep.
You have full,
so
lots
we'll have
of food?
Yeah. So we'll have like a little buffet style, which Now I think it's okay, but we were getting to a point where we think we might have to do a food ticket as well. Like I said, all the greedy people that were just loading down. But now that I think that's not, I'll keep my pulse on it. But yeah, so you have the 2 drink tickets. So we normally have Carolina Elite Bar Service that we partner with that normally sets up a little bar area with like, beer and wine. So you can exchange, one for either. And then the food is just usually kind of like a self-serve deal. So we normally have like Nacho Margarita out there. It does like a taco bar, and they'll kind of help you out, or you just kind of serve yourself. Last month for the 4th of July theme, actually, partially to save money because we need more sponsors if anybody's watching. I actually myself smoked a bunch of Boston butts and did some pulled pork. I made like a huge thing, coleslaw.
Really good.
And yeah, dude, I was actually pretty impressed with myself. That was the second time I ever made coleslaw or pulled pork, and it came out
He
good.
kind of slipped that into the thing too. It was like, you didn't want to. He's like,
yeah, if y'all want to give me good, if y'all want to give me props,
it's fine.
Yeah.
Don't tell me it's great. It's fine.
Yeah.
So it's a party, but is there a
There's a
program?
structure.
Because what's the structure?
Yeah, so there is somewhat of a structure, and like I mentioned earlier, I've kind of fell away from some of the promotion that I need to do, which has affected a little bit of the structure. But ideally, the structure is from 5 to around 6. People are arriving, getting their food, just doing open networking, right? So from the 5 to 6 hour, that's just people arriving, all that stuff. Then around 6:15, just depending on, the vibe and how hectic it may or may not be, that's when we'll address the crowd, right? So we normally have a guy, his name's Rutland Martin, that does live music out there anyways. He's playing his guitar, singing, and stuff like that. So I'll round people up onto the patio around 6 for us to thank our sponsors. And the part that I've kind of fell away from is we'll do giveaways as well, right? So let's say you guys, like your agency, right? You say, I want to do a giveaway. So you can bring like a little, I have people that'll bring a bottle of wine or a gift card to something unrelated or whatever, but you can do a giveaway or give away something that's related to your industry, which would make more sense to get people kind of teasered in. But we'll do a giveaway. So when you come in, part of that entering is you have a basket to put a business card in, right? So if you guys want to, if you're like, hey, I'm giving away a massage because I'm a massage therapy place or whatever, you'll come up around that 6 o'clock time after we address the crowd and all that and draw a business card. That's who wins whatever the giveaway is. Of course, the person doing the giveaway gets to speak on their business, so they get the microphone and can address the crowd. And then whoever wins, when they come to get their winnings, they'll also get the microphone and be given the time to tell everybody about their business. Okay. And that seems to be popular. Like I said, I got to get back on like really pushing that out there. But people love doing that. Everybody that does those, either the winners or the ones giving it away, they always come back to me and say, man, I'm so glad, because like I had 4 or 5 people come up to me and say, oh, I need to connect with you. So that's part of the program, is doing the giveaways and then thanking the sponsors. And then we'll have Bency Beals, typically, she's our go-to for doing like a little segment, right? So I give, and even with the like Breakfast Club event, similar setup, right? Like some time to open network, then a time to address the crowd and stuff like that. We'll have a speaker, and I just kind of give the speaker free reign. You know what I mean? Like, hey, just whatever you want to talk about, obviously know your audience. So it's something that can be of value for everybody. But yeah, whatever you want to talk about, 5-10 minutes, whatever. So normally Bency will get the mic. She'll normally share either networking tips, business tips. Sometimes she'll share a story that kind of ties into the nonprofit. You know what I mean? But we'll have her kind of speak, address the crowd. Then we'll do some announcements, maybe about upcoming events or, sponsor opportunities, things of that nature. And then it just goes back to open networking. And that's kind of as it kind
Stuff starts to wind down.
Starts to wind down. Yeah. Now before it tried to wind up, but that's why we made those changes. Because everybody's like, hey, now it's time to have fun, and it's like,
you got to keep it under control,
Yeah.
So you have Professionals on the Patio, Breakfast Club, and then wasn't there a third one?
Yeah, Professionals at the ballpark. So
at the ballpark.
Yep. So Breakfast Club is the third Thursday of every month. That's at 554 Meeting Street. It's a venue called 860 Station, and it's 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on the third Thursday. Similar layout. You come in, you get breakfast, coffee, open networking for about an hour or so, and then we'll address the crowd. We'll normally try to get a different guest speaker for that, frankly, because Bency's usually busy for that event. But it's cool because it gives us opportunities to work with other people that want to take the opportunity to speak to crowds, especially if we have guys that are like business coaches and stuff like that. That's what they want, right? It's a free advertising for them. So we'll have someone speak if we can afford to, or have someone donate. We'll try to have music out there, like a little DJ or something to do music. But similar thing, right? Get there, eat, network. We get your attention for 20, 30 minutes, and then go back to it, kind of wind down. Professionals and that also is for charity. We do half the tickets to charity, half the ticket cost back into the event, but frankly, we'll probably end up switching to doing it all toward the charity as well, just because it's less messy. If I can just get sponsors to cover breakfast, we'll be fine, right? And professionals on the ballpark's a little bit different. It's like a $5 ticket. You get a ticket to the game, and then you get 3 tickets that can be exchanged for hot dogs or beers. Right, so you can get 3 beers or 3 hot dogs or 2, whatever, however you want to mix those up, and that will open the doors for the networkers at like 5:30. So usually the gates open at 6. So you get in 30 minutes early, do the networking. Again, we'll have a speaker. The first time we did it, we just had someone from the park speaking to kind of tell people about Sagra Park, the things that they do, and all their events, offerings, and stuff like that. And then after the networking is wrapped up, around 7 o'clock is when the game starts. So you got your ticket for that, right? So basically, you buy a ticket to the game, and you get 3 free drinks or hot dogs.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So it's only during baseball season, though, right?
Yeah, but we're working on doing some things outside of baseball season, because they do have they do their Christmas lights and stuff like that. So we're working with those guys to find ways of how we can fit in for not just during baseball season, but that just started. I think it was in June maybe or whatever.
Yeah, I missed that first one.
That sounds pretty cool.
The next one will be July 31st. I'm not sure when this is going to air, but yeah, July 31st.
We don't know
have
either.
A couple more, but we have a few more planned out. I think we have 3 in the books right now. So
nice.
Before the baseball season's over. But again, just trying to find unique ways to kind of do it. And that one's cool because I do get a tab and again, we need sponsors for that, because as gracious as Sagra Park has been to us, I still do have to pay for everything that gets eaten and drank. But it's a lot less involved than the other events, because I'm just showing up.
Yeah,
I'm showing up and I'm getting a tab basically, which is nice, because for planning it's a relief.
Yeah. So awesome. What would be a networking event that you would recommend going to that isn't one of your events? Yeah.
So I mentioned, I've already pretty much mentioned them. I personally love going to the coffee talk on Tuesday mornings at 8 a.m. at Stars and Strikes in Irmo. It's hosted by the Irmo Chamber. You don't have to be a chamber member to attend. Great turnout, great set of folks. They do a similar thing where they'll collect business cards when you walk in, and then Carrie, who runs it, she runs the whole chamber, but she runs the meetings typically unless she has someone filling in. She'll draw a couple cards. She kind of picks through and I've never seen this person here before. Let's have them come up and speak. And they'll normally have a question the last time I went, I think one of the questions was what was your favorite iconic 80s movie? Which I was like, y'all might want to tweak that, because half these kids weren't, but whatever. But they'll do that, so it's kind of fun. They have Bart's Coffee that brings coffee out there, so that's a good one. The coffee talk. Then Not First Fridays at Weco Beer Garden in West Columbia, or WECO or whatever. It's West Columbia, not West Columbia. But anyways, at Weco Beer Garden, they have the Not First Fridays, so second Friday of the month, 2 to 4 p.m. That's kind of helped inspired me with wanting to have the bar service and stuff, because people get a couple drinks, they loosen up and have good conversations.
Happy hour kind of.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So that's another really good one that I enjoy. Unfortunately, haven't been to 1 Million Cups, which I need to go check it out. I just, for some reason, I guess I need to follow on social media to get it on my radar, because I always...
You got to get added to that calendar, man.
Exactly.
Well, and see, that's how I...
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
That's how I missed Professionals and Patio the first couple of times, because I said, I got to go to this, and then I'll find out about it because I see the pictures of what had happened yesterday. Mm-hmm. And so I actually got on their page and signed up for the... let me know when the next time is happening, and it helps. So I went to a new event in June in Lexington, hosted by a group called Best of the Midlands.
Okay.
Hopefully we're going to have them on the podcast next week, which would be great. But they had a hot seat event. So they had all the people that attended, they took all the business cards, they pulled one business card, they got in the hot seat and said, okay, here's a challenge I'm having in my business, and everybody attending can help make suggestions.
Oh yeah, that's great.
So it was really good. And they're having the next one next Friday, July 25th.
Gotcha.
So that's definitely one to check out.
One I went to recently as well. It's I don't know the name it's dubbed, but it's at the Lexington 24-hour pickleball.
Oh yeah.
Place.
Okay.
That I enjoyed that. That was good. It has a really good format. The guy that owns that business, I think he just has a long history of different business ventures that he's been a part of. So he likes to share like little nuggets of wisdom that he can in those events, and he gives people props. I think they even do stuff like he mentioned that the only one I attended so far where either the previous month or the coming month they'll go through and even pull up your website on the screen in front of everybody and kind of critique it, which is kind of crazy. Which is kind of wild because I could see people maybe getting their feelings hurt, but I'm sure he's very tactful with it, of course. But, stuff like that where he, it's like really trying to encourage people to
usually
grow.
have to pay a lot of money for that kind of thing.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, and when it comes to the networking space, because I've had instances where other organizations or other folks, thought that maybe we were trying to impede on something that someone else had going on. There's no competition. Like I said, I don't get nothing in my pocket in this anyways, right? So there's no competition in it. So I love going to other networking events, again, so I can be a fixture in the community. But then you could just learn of different things that work, man. Like I was very inspired by the whole like going through the website thing. And I'm like, man, how can we bring more value?
Yeah.
Well,
Columbia's a great town for that because I think, there's not a lot of that compartmentalization that happens in other places. I think Columbia, we feel like one community. And that's why I loved going to Professional the Patio and not knowing anybody. Because I'm like, man, how is it that I don't know anybody?
Right.
And so this is a very cool place for me to be because this is a whole new group of people. There's a lot of young people.
Yeah, and I think that's in our slogan. It's
like
young professionals. It's crazy. I don't know my own little slogan, but that's the thing, and that's part of the culture when it started, and we're still trying to keep it, but especially when it was more laid back and looser, it attracted the younger crowd, and that was kind of our goal in an essence, is to have the young business owners, young sales reps, using David as an example, 22 years old, man, you got this successful business, like where do you want to go and hang out with people?
Absolutely.
And it benefits because, like you said, like it's a whole demographic and a whole generation of business owners that you haven't got to break bread with.
That's right. I know all the old guys.
Right.
So I've got to meet some younger people. That was my big one. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for doing this. This was really great talking to you about this stuff. We end up our podcast with 5 questions.
Perfect.
And so we're going to hit you kind of rapid fire. Don't think about it too much. Just give us first thing that comes to mind.
Gotcha.
The first is favorite movie.
Favorite movie? Oof, man, yeah, you're right. That's one of those things, if we think about it too long, it's just not going to work.
That's right. You're going to go through everything.
Let's just, the first thing that popped in my head was The Sandlot, so let's go with Sandlot.
Sandlot, nice.
Right,
Very good.
classic. I'm sure later I'll be like, why didn't you say this other movie? But let's go with The Sandlot.
You're killing me, Smalls. I love it.
Yeah.
That's great. So second one is, what is your favorite band or musical artist?
Band or musical artist, man. So it's changed a lot recently because, like I said, with my faith journey, I don't listen to secular music as much as I used to, man, which is kind of a trip, man. But so currently, let's say current because favorite stuff changes.
That's cool.
Forrest Frank has been one of my favorites, man.
Okay.
He is my son's favorite.
Yeah, Forrest Frank
listen to him all the time.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites.
He just broke his back. Did you hear that?
Oh, no. Good grief, man.
He had back surgery.
Because he's carrying the whole Christian music game on his back.
I know.
That's why.
He was
heavy.
skateboarding in his driveway.
Oh, wow.
And fell off the skateboard and landed right on his back. And they had a video of him in the hospital.
Good grief.
Well,
cracked his vertebrae.
I will tell you, I've been playing piano in church for the last 2 or 3 years. And I'm learning a new song almost every time I'm learning a new song, something I've not heard before. So now that I've been doing it for 3 years, I've got almost all of the repertoire that I've done, right? But I don't know the names of any of the songs. I don't know who makes the songs. I just know that it's that one, right? And I don't even really know the recordings very well because I listen to the recording enough to get to the idea of how to play it, and then I just play it. So I know our band's version of it, you know? So I'm not sure I'd be able to follow any of those artists because I don't listen to it outside of church, but like I learn it for church, I guess. So, okay, favorite dessert?
Favorite dessert, cheesecake.
Nice.
I'd have to go with cheesecake.
Cheesecake is a pretty common answer.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's great. It's great. I mean,
That's a That's a nice one. It's good, you know.
Or I'll give you one local one. Scoop of Heaven Ice Cream on Spears Creek Road.
Oh, okay.
That's a John Pucci. Shout out to you, brother.
All right.
If you haven't been, and if you ever are on that side of town, because I'm guessing we're all kind of from over this side.
Yeah.
Check it out, man. Best ice cream you've ever had in your life.
Okay.
Incredible.
That's a challenge.
Yeah.
I have to get my tooth fixed first.
Yeah.
Because I can't
Yeah.
have ice cream right now.
That's true.
Because it hits that.
Hits that nerve.
tooth. Okay. How many is that?
That's 4.
Is that 4? Okay.
Yeah, one more.
All right. You go.
Okay. Favorite car.
Favorite car? Ooh, that's a good one. This is going to be a weird, deep cut. Maybe not my favorite, but it pops to mind. Plymouth Prowlers were so freaking cool,
Nice.
man.
Oh.
Those were so cool. Every time I
Okay.
see one of those somewhere, I'm like, those are so cool, man.
Now,
and a lot of y'all might have to Google it, but
The
it's
idea
a cool
behind the
car.
Prowler is perfect, right?
Yeah.
We love the idea. The problem is they underpowered it because Plymouth was trying to make it too affordable,
Right.
So if you could take that 4-cylinder and swap it out for a V8 or something that would give it enough power,
It looks like it should be fast.
It would be a legit hot rod,
Yeah.
right? Now, the fun part about it is you could probably get a Prowler for a couple grand right now
And put
you
one
know,
in there.
and put a V8 in it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
still have a pretty incredible car. You know, so when he was talking about networking, I was thinking about Cars and Coffee because I go to Cars and Coffee every single time, right? And there are Cars and Coffees that I go, it was fine. It's mainly Mustangs and Corvettes. There was a couple of interesting cars there, and then there are times you go to Cars and Coffee where it's like you see cars that will validate your love of cars, right? You go, okay, there was an interesting car at this one. Jim Hudson brought out his 4 cars one time in the fall, and I remember this one. He had a Huracan Evo. He had a Porsche GT3 RS. He had the new C8 Z06 Corvette before it was widely released. Like, he had all of these cars just lined up in a row, and you're like, okay, I'm glad I came to Cars and Coffee.
Where'd they host that at?
It's at the AMC Theater in Harbison.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I need
It's
to
in the
check
parking
that
lot of the AMC Theater, but it's the second Saturday of the month. But the networking events are like that. Like, you have to go. You have to show up. You know, because you just never know what you're going to get out of going. You know.
Yep.
And you know, there are guys like Joey Wells. Love Joey Wells and his 2 Ferraris, but I've seen Joey Wells and his 2 Ferraris so many times that like yeah, it's good to see Joey. It's good to talk for a minute, you know. And I love his Ferraris; they're beautiful. But like, I want to see something I haven't seen before.
Right.
You know, let's bring out that weird old car, or bring out that brand new whatever exotic, you know, that I've not seen. And that's what networking is. I think it's the idea that you might run into something amazing.
Right.
You just got to take the chance. You know?
Networking's like a box of chocolates.
Like a box
That's
of
it.
chocolates.
You never know what
Never know what you're
That's
going to
it.
get.
See, that could be a movie I chose. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's
that's right. Forrest Gump.
so
Yeah.
many.
Jonathan, thanks again for being here with
Yeah,
us.
man.
Thank you, guys.
This is great.
We appreciate it. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.